Welcome to a short update where we discuss the current crash on Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been falling from approximately 29k towards 25 and on some exchanges even 23k, and we're currently in an area of support, but we are also copy pasting the previous crashes as well. We've seen this before in March and we have seen this before in November 2022. So we're going to discuss the price action of Bitcoin. In the next updates, we'll be focusing on altcoins. But today, firstly, in the short update, we're going to cover what Bitcoin is currently doing and what we can be expecting from here. So before we continue, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also make sure to check out our public Discord and make sure to check out the other social media channels where you can find more information. Now, when we talk about the markets, there's something which we call the open interest. And the open interest has been an indicator of the market movements, in which we have been seeing a pretty substantial rally previously, which got entirely wiped out in this previous crash. The liquidations that took place in this entire correction on Bitcoin has been more than FTX collapse in November 2022. More than 1 billion in Bitcoin, 1 billion USD, have been collapsing in the past 24 hours. In open interest, you can see that it dropped by 23%, which is even more than 1 billion. So we've had this massive drop here, especially in the drop that we started to see. The open interest was rallying, which inevitably caused this massive and giant wick to take place. Now, the differences you'll be getting when you're looking at the charts is that you'll be getting a different view if you look at Bitcoin USD on Bitstamp than when you are looking at Binance or any of the other assets. So in that case, you're looking at Bitcoin USD for Bitstamp, which is currently showing a daily RSI at 17.7. All right, so I'm trying to digest what that tells me. The last time we've seen those numbers were the crash in 2018, which was still in the bear market, approximately 1 year after the peak high, which was similarly to the crash that we witnessed in November 2022. And the outlier that we witnessed was March 2020. So that's where we can compare this current price action to. Especially if you look at this one on Bitstamp, you can see that yesterday's candle continued in its current fall, and that the trend is still downwards. If we look at the 4 hour, you cannot see any of these massive massacres on the 4 hour RSI either in the previous entire bear market or in the bear market that we witnessed in 2018-2019, except for the case that we were breaking down in December of 2018. So this plot that we have right now is huge. It is getting into territories where we at least are going to get a bounce. The question is, how far will it continue to fall before we are finalizing the entire sweep of the liquidity and we can start turning around. When we're looking at Bitcoin against USDT, we can also see that we've got this massive wick. It seems almost inevitable that we're going to take the liquidity beneath this wick as well, and then we can start having at least a bounce. We've got some more liquidity lying here, and I think that's the final one, especially given the fact that this RSI is getting so far in the red, which is comparable to what we have been witnessing here in March 2023. When we also started to fall south, and then we started to turn around after multiple 4 hour candles of blood. If we're looking at the current 4 hour candles, we can see that we've got multiple ones too, while we have a constant flow of pain. Now, what are the scenarios when we look at Bitcoin? I think ultimately you want to long when we wick beneath this low, you want to short when we get here. I think we are getting close towards establishing a new range. We might be creating a new bullish divergence here either, but it's getting close towards establishing that new range, through which I think I've got an example here in which we have been taking the liquidity at the lows too, and then we can just start establishing a sideways area where we have wicks and just continue to chop. All right, so it's very likely that we're currently facing ourselves into probably establishing a range, have a sideways period, go like this, and then we can start having at least a period of bottoming procedures or getting close towards one. So what should you be doing if you are currently in the position of having longs on Bitcoin or thinking of buying Bitcoin? I think overall it is a great opportunity to accumulate your long positions when you are investing into the markets. I think it's granting us opportunities we have not seen before. And the funny thing is that in the meantime, while we are seeing this entire massacre on the markets, we see that the Bitcoin dominance started to fall, which is comparable to the previous cycle, and we'll be discussing this in a different video. Bitcoin USDT, if you look at it from this perspective, I think there are definitely chances that we're going to sweep the low here at 24.8. If we do, I think that is when the real pain starts to come in. There is a likely chance that we're going to revisit even lower numbers. On the other hand, if we look at 2016 cycles, it is also very comparable that we sweep the low, have a consolidation period, and then we start to break out at a later point. We are in the final stages of the reckoning. It is getting close towards a potential bounce, especially since the S&P and the other assets are currently making a slight bounce in their entire correction. It's not for granted that we're going to have the correction, but especially if the yields are going to turn around in the upcoming week or the Nasdaq continues to do this bounce, that's going to be a period where Bitcoin is having some relief too. And yes, we are waiting for Grayscale to come in with information. Elon Musk and SpaceX didn't sell Bitcoin. They revalued their Bitcoin positions for last year. And if you look at the entire year, we have been falling from approximately 45k to 50k to 16k, so it's not unusual that that is taking place. The indicators are currently at lowest levels we've seen since June 2022 and since the period that we had the crash in November 2022. So we're getting close to at least some momentum to the upside. Is it going to be the bottom? That's probably not likely, but we're getting at least close towards some entries. I'll be back on Tuesday to discuss the Bitcoin history.